WWE Money in the Bank has just finished, and if you're wondering why I look like this, that's because it's 4 a.m. in the morning my time right now. Yes, that's what we have to go through here in South Africa. 4 a.m. shows, so we love it when there's overseas shows. But anyway, this was coming from Toronto, and the show was definitely a bit of a mixed bag. I'm not gonna lie. We had some great matches, we had some alright matches, we had some confusing booking, and we had some good booking. It was really a complete mixed bag. And then, of course, we had the John Cena stuff, which we'll get into. But let's start with the very first match, and that was the men's Money in the Bank match, which featured Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, we had LA Knight, we had Jey Uso, we had Drew McIntyre, we had Andrade, and this was a really, really good Money in the Bank match. Probably for me, match of the night. Um, a lot of big spots. Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, one that comes to mind when they did like the inverted Spanish fly off the ropes onto the ladder. Andrade himself did a like springboard leg drop type thing to Carmelo Hayes. We saw Chad Gable hanging onto the Money in the Bank briefcase with no ladder under him and doing a face bump. That was crazy. A lot of big spots, a lot of big moments, but ultimately Drew McIntyre came out on top. And look, let me say this about the Money in the Bank match, because we all know by now Drew tried to cash in later. It didn't quite work, but we'll get onto that a little bit later. I don't think we need a Money in the Bank match every single year. And I say that because in the previous regime, they might not have cared too much about the long story. Okay, they would have had a cash in, and then by the time it gets to Mania, they've swapped it again so that the actual story can take place. But Triple H doesn't want that. He doesn't want his story interrupted for a couple weeks or a couple months because of a Money in the Bank cash in. He wants to maintain his story all the way till WrestleMania. And if you look at it this time round, we've got Cody, who's going to end up facing either Roman or Rock, I'm sure, at WrestleMania 41. Then we've got the World Heavyweight title side. Well, we've got Gunther versus Damian Priest at SummerSlam. That's one thing. Then who knows what happens from there. We've got Seth in the picture. We've got Drew in the picture. There's people in the picture. So what does a Money in the Bank briefcase for someone like Jey Uso actually mean? You know, he's got something potentially in the pipeline for later on with the Bloodline stuff. So yeah, and I mean, LA Knight has the US title stuff coming up. So I do think he has his stories in line, and this Money in the Bank match was kind of in the way of that. Hence him giving it to Drew McIntyre and letting CM Punk ruin his day. So I do think they can make this more of a speciality match, in my opinion. Book this match when you want a Money in the Bank briefcase. You know what I'm trying to say? We don't need it every year at this point. We really don't. It's becoming a booking nightmare, as we saw with other people, like Austin Theory in the past. Heck, even Damian Priest struggled a bit. So I don't think we need it every single time. Now, great match. Drew McIntyre gets the win. Great stuff for Drew McIntyre. And we move on to the next match, which was Sami Zayn taking on Braun Breaker. And going into this, I thought, okay, either it's Braun Breaker's time or someone like a Sheamus, Ludwig, someone is going to interrupt this match. And it was neither of those things. Sami Zayn beat Braun Breaker clean. Sami Zayn hit one haluva kick and it was done. And the match didn't even go that long. So that was very disappointing because I don't think we needed a loss for Braun Breaker just yet. I don't think Braun Breaker should have lost. I don't think he needed to lose. I don't think it was his time to lose. Sami Zayn is going to start getting go away heat at some point. I say that, but he's just so over at the same time. So I don't know if that go away heat will ever come. But from the IWC, I can see it already starting. I can see people on Twitter complaining. I don't know, people on Twitter always complain, but I can see it. And Sami Zayn is the type of guy that people fight for, not fight against. So it's interesting stuff. I don't think Braun Breaker should have lost. Now he's just going to go back to Raw, do his thing, probably to like a whole new level, you know, his rampage. And what's it all going to be worth? You know, if he wins it at the end of the day, why did he need to lose it now? Or then why did they need to book the match now? I just don't get it. I don't see the point in it. I'm sure there'll be some sort of story, but I just feel it could have been told in a different way. So, with that being said, Sami Zayn gets the win, and we then move on to John Cena for the last time. So, John Cena comes out with his usual never give up like towel thing, but this time it says this was the last time, or the last time is now. And I'm like, whoa, what does this mean? He comes in, gets on the mic, and he says, I'm announcing my retirement from WWE. And I'm like, oh, no. This, please pull a Mark Henry / AJ Styles. Please. And he goes on to express that he has basically come to the conclusion that he will be there on the first episode of Netflix, or Raw on Netflix. Royal Rumble will be his last ever Royal Rumble. Elimination Chamber will be his last ever Elimination Chamber. And WrestleMania 41 will be his last ever WrestleMania. John Cena is retiring. Now, John Cena is my childhood hero in wrestling. I think he's a lot of your guys' childhood hero. Yes, he went through a period of being hated and loved. That was me. I was always loving John Cena. Like, John Cena is the guy for me. So this one is a bit of a hard one to take. Like, yeah, I didn't see this day coming. I did not see this day coming at all. Did not see it coming today. Why now of all times to announce it? He is going to talk about it more at the press conference, but obviously I'm recording this before the press conference. I'll watch the press conference after this. I can actually see him talking right now. But yeah, so a lot of this will probably be clearer if you watch the press conference, but it's just crazy. And who do you guys think Cena should face at WrestleMania 41? I got one name in mind, but I'm going to hold it for now because I got a video on that. But with that being said, we then moved on to the very next match, which was it the women's match? It must have been. No, it was Seth Rollins and Damian Priest. And yeah, this match was going really, really well. I mean, fast paced, action packed. They were moving. There was a few moments of a little bit of iffiness, but they were moving fast paced, action packed, constantly flowing. And then Falcon Arrow from Seth Rollins, and it's a pin. And you think, okay, quick 2 count. And the ref basically does a 3 count, but no one kicks out. No one kicked out. Damian Priest either forgot to kick out, which I don't think is likely. I think Drew McIntyre's music was supposed to hit at that very moment, and it didn't. So I think that's what the issue was. I think Drew McIntyre's music was supposed to hit, the ref was supposed to stop, get distracted, and that didn't happen. So now they all look like fools, and Damian Priest should have lost essentially. But Drew McIntyre comes out, so that match is now over. He cashes in. It's now a triple threat match. So, with that being said, a little bit of back and forth. He takes out Seth Rollins, but in comes CM Punk. And CM Punk absolutely batters Drew McIntyre from here to there. He takes him out, steel chairs. He uses the title against Drew McIntyre, and that allows Damian Priest to get the victory over Drew McIntyre. And Damian Priest is still your world champion, even though he technically lost it to Seth. Seth should be holding that title right now, but the ref and the production team and Damian messed up. So that kind of ruined that whole segment for me. I'm not going to lie. It didn't quite feel the same. It didn't quite hit the same afterwards. I was just kind of thinking about that the whole time because it takes you out of the illusion for a moment. So that is really disappointing. But I'm interested to see in CM Punk and Drew McIntyre stuff. Now, a lot of people are saying there was a waste of a Money in the Bank briefcase, and I get what they're saying. But like I said earlier, with the stories everyone else has, where were you going to go with that title, with that briefcase? Where were you going to go? So I honestly think every now and then, a waste of a briefcase is not a bad thing because you don't want to be having all these cash-ins every single year leading to the same outcomes, leading to someone they don't really want to have the title just yet, and they then presented with the title and they're going to make something out of it when that's not the story they're trying to do. So wasting this briefcase, I think, is a good thing in hindsight. Perhaps fairly predictable, like very predictable, but I suppose that was the point of it. So now we move on to the women's Money in the Bank match, and this match I've seen mixed reviews. In the group chats, I've seen mixed reviews because it was sloppy in the beginning. Botchy in the beginning. People would look like they were trying to actually kill each other in the beginning. But then they started cooking, and then they started getting in the spots, and they started doing it right, and there was chemistry, they were starting to flow, and we saw Tombstone off the ladder onto another ladder, basically, a bridge ladder, We saw Chelsea Green go through two tables from the ring off the ladder. Crazy. She's done that before in TNA. Just putting it out there. Crazy stuff. We saw, what else did we see? I mean, we saw some ridiculous stuff. I mean, we saw an unprettier off a bridge ladder. It didn't look too great. It wasn't very pretty. But still great stuff throughout this match towards the end. But the beginning was sloppy. So I'm conflicted about this match. I thought it was good, but at the same time, not so good. So it's probably slap bang in the middle for me with that being said. But Tiffany Stratton comes out and is our new Miss Money in the Bank. And it was also fairly predictable. I was hoping for a bit of a Chelsea Green because I think Tiffany will thrive without this, with or without it. But she has it now, so let's see what she can do. I can already see the story, to be honest. Nia Jax wins at SummerSlam. Tiffany Stratton cashes in. I can see it. Even if it's not on that night, which it might be, it'll be at some point. So it's there. The story is there, which is why I think she won it. Because there's a story for it, whereas the men's, there isn't a story with it. So that's the difference between the two, in my opinion. But I might do a video on that later on as well this week, actually breaking that down more with a bit more sense when it's not 4 a.m. in the morning. So we then move on to the main event, and this was a long one. They try to pull off a Roman Reigns level main event, where Roman takes his time, he's methodical, he does his thing, but it wasn't Roman, it was Solo Sikoa. So, yeah, I mean, Solo didn't do too bad in this role. We saw the debut of Jacob Fatu, and he didn't quite do everything he was capable of. He's capable of so much more, but at the end, he gave us a little sneak peek. And I think the point of it was because it was a tag match, he's not going to show us everything. Come the singles matches, come where he can shine, he will do what he needs to do. But what he did well, and he still looks like an absolute monster. We saw Kevin Owens and Randy Orton taking a lot of the punishment, with Cody getting into hot tags. But then we had a ref bump, and this is where the match got exciting, but at the same sense, didn't make sense. The logic went out the window, because number one, the ref got taken out twice. Why would you not bring in another ref at that point? Number two, Solo Sikoa ate everybody's finisher, including 2 crossroads. Yet he gave Cody Rhodes 1 Samoan spike, and that was it for Cody. So I didn't like that aspect of this. I think the logic kind of went out the window. But the beginning part was slow, methodical, getting heat on the heels. On the baby faces. And then leading to that big hot tag. But then it all went out the window. I feel like all that hard work of getting the heat on to Solo and all of them went out the window with the ref bump as well. But great match still. I think it just falls under the men's Money in the Bank match. Solo Sikoa pins Cody Rhodes. Let's not forget that. Solo Sikoa pinned Cody Rhodes. And I assume this means we're now going to get Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. No Roman Reigns pitching up as expected, but I expect him to pitch up probably at SummerSlam. Probably then. And with that being said, that was my Money in the Bank review. Let me know what you guys thought of the show, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care. Peace.